Okay, welcome back to Statloba Podcast. Super exciting episode today. We have our guest today, Kevin Garcia, as we like to call him, Kevvo. I'll let him introduce himself to all of you guys very soon, but we're also getting joined by our regular expert, the maestro himself, Ian Evans, in the call. So, Kevvo, how are you feeling? How are you excited to
Good.
talk about Cole Palmer today?
I'm excited to talk about Chelsea as well as my qualifications, which are none. I have zero athletic ability. I have a pretty bad attitude and a hating spirit. So I'm ready to talk about footy, man. I feel like I was made for this podcast as a
Hey, you know
hater.
what, Kev? It sounds like you were made for footy. You were made for this podcast.
Made for this
That's why you.
podcast. And I'm coming for both of your clubs too, for Arsenal
Yeah,
and Barcelona, because there's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to discuss, boys,
yeah.
as well as United and Ballon. So excited to chat with y'all today.
Absolutely. It's really hard for me to get honest because we beat Bayern Munich 4-1.
Yeah, and for anyone watching the pod, Desh may seem like a very level-headed moderator, but he's actually a cyberbully because he's been coming for my Chelsea for the past few years in our group chat. And yeah, I think we're finally seeing the light at the end of the
Oh,
tunnel.
yes, yes. You're sweet, innocent Chelsea with
My
no.
sweet innocent
Yeah.
Chelsea, who don't have any blood money whatsoever,
Mm.
tied to the Russian state. Just clean money, dude. It's clean as it gets.
Clean burning oil. Clean burning oil.
Just clean. Yeah, it's good for the environment, bro. That's Chelsea. We're back, baby. We're back. We're back.
Wow, I didn't see you yesterday in your games.
Listen, man. We got to give teams like Villa their chance to shine. Which, by the way, they're top of the table. That's
Yeah. You guys are also playing Noah.
Yeah, dude. Listen, we're bringing football exposure to a lot of smaller clubs in Central Asia and different parts of the continent that people
It's
don't
all
really
about
get to.
equity and access from.
Yeah, so what this is about also is like being a good ambassador of the game and making sure that hey, maybe people don't know where Kazakhstan is, and we're gonna make sure that they get to see it and they're exposed through Chelsea's global brand. So this is
Yeah.
actually
They'll
uh,
also be able to see Mikhailo Mudryk struggle immensely to score a goal.
Uh, I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about him like he's spin to me, and this guy is a hustler, dude. That boy Muddy, dude, is playing like he's listen. He may not score a lot, but he's got
What
a
was
lot of
that?
hustle.
Muddy?
Muddy, dude. That's what we call him.
You call him Muddy?
Money.
The fan base calls him Muddy, dude.
Okay.
He's got incredible pace. He hustles every play, and I forgot what game it was. Was it against Forest when he had that like baller run and he like pinged it like he crossed it in perfectly and then Kunku just didn't
Yeah.
hit the ball right, dude. So he almost had an unbelievably baller
Yeah, no,
assist.
that was
Mhm.
he went like three-quarters of the pitch just straight down the line like a sprinter, man.
Yeah, dude, he went coast to coast, man. So you gotta love it, dude. So even guys like him who are probably not worth their transfer tag, they're still put. I still think he's adding value to the squad, man.
Well, that's not as egregious a spend, in my opinion, like what you spent on like Enzo.
Yeah, but yeah. So I think Enzo.
I
I
don't
don't
want to
know
say
what
it. I don't want to admit it.
I think he just has like an attitude problem, man. I think winning the World Cup was probably one of the worst things to happen to his development, bro.
Oh,
Because his
dude,
attitude,
Kevin
yeah,
Garcia, everybody.
yeah,
Kevin
bro,
Garcia,
yeah,
everybody
dude.
with
Because
his
he
expert
won it when he
analysis
was
and
young, dude. He won it when he was young.
elite shade throwing.
Elite shade throwing, dude. Because I do think Enzo is very good. Like I think he's really good at passing. It's just I think him and Caicedo are not a good unless you're having like Lavia in there too. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they're just like a midfield base. They don't really work well together because they're kind of like we've talked about before, like trying to occupy the same spaces. But I think Enzo is an incredible passer, man. Like he has, I think, elite passing. It's just he's not gonna. It just feels like he doesn't offer you much defensively. But Yeah, that's my hot take. Well, that's one of the many hot takes you'll probably
That's
get
my
today.
hot take. Yeah, this episode is meant
Is
to be
sponsored.
riddled with hot takes.
Yeah, I'm hoping there's people spiraling in the comments, but you know, I think you guys are getting like 5 views right
Yeah,
now.
we'll get a
so.
few bots down there stirring
But-
stuff up, see what happens. Why not?
But yeah, but
Well, I'm going to go back to something you said earlier, which was Chelsea being the good Samaritan and bringing light on the teams in Kazakhstan and
Conference League, baby.
which is quite good. And then I think like our topic today is also Paul Palmer, right? And he kind of like came out of this Man City obscurity. Like he had, I think, played like 2 games before he signed for Chelsea, and now this season alone, just in the Premier League, he scored 6 goals, 5 assists. His expected goals are about 0.58 per 90 minutes. Expected assists 0.26 per 90 minutes. So literally, he's gonna score you goals and give you assists, and seems to be a very, very good signing. So let's get a bit serious.
Sure.
Why do you think, besides these things, why do you think he was a good signing for you guys?
Well, this is something Ian and I have talked about, obviously not on this pod, but I think the way Chelsea are set up are probably better suited for Cole Palmer than he was at City. City, I think they have their very rigid structure, rigid roles, and I think Maresca allows Palmer to play with a degree of freedom. So sometimes he's coming in from the middle, sometimes he's kind of drifting in from the right, sometimes he's pretty far back in the build-up. So I think he has a lot of free roaming. But I think this season he's also better because I think the players around him are a lot better too in terms of being settled. Because you look at last season, and if he wasn't scoring goals or setting things up, then who else was doing it? Sometimes Jackson, other guys every once in a while scoring. It wasn't very consistent, like for a lot of our guys. So, and I think Palmer was always good. I think when he was at City, like coming off the bench, he was still averaging a goal involvement like every 80 minutes. So I think I'll be honest. When we first signed him, I'm like, who the f- is this kid? Never heard of him before.
Yeah.
But he quickly not only settled into the team, but he just doesn't seem to be phased by pressure, which I think is like something. You look at a guy like Mudryk and his transfer fee, and to be fair, like I don't blame him for struggling because he came into like a 3-ring circus on fire that was driving off a cliff. You know what I mean? Like none of our players did well under the beginning era of Clear Lake. So I think it's his mentality, and I think the way the team are set up are just perfect for him. So I don't know what Ian thinks about that, or Udesh for that fact.
I agree. Almost everything. I think it is definitely like I mean he did score, for example, like 22 goals and 13 assists last season too. And like you said, like he was carrying the team quite a bit. I definitely do think that Maresca's style of play probably suits him even better, and Maresca was like knowing him from the City times probably is also good for him. I do also think that players around him are also putting their weight a little bit more this season. So we see it. Of course, like it's just the beginning of the season, so we'll see like if this carries on. But definitely like a very, very good point there. I think that Ian and I have kind of talked about Cole a few times now because we keep him as an example of also this mental fortitude as well. Also, like I'm talking about also England setup in the summer. he was quite good like every time he played. So I'd like to get your opinion on getting this. Like, let's talk about it a little bit. Let's see these moments. Like when he's taking free kick, when he is stepping up to take penalties. The when in Euros when Oli Watkins scored the goal and he came out later and he said, "Cole had told me he'll pass me." So like knowing that kind of confidence, no, I'm going to come in, I'm going to pass it to you, and you're going to score a goal or do that. Then the whole aspect of it is super interesting, right? For a professional athlete. So, just then Ian, let's ask him, like, can you tell us a little bit about why you think he's so good?
Right. Yeah. I mean, to me, it seems that, honestly, it seems a little bit natural. Like he's maybe got a bit more, maybe, I don't know how to exactly say it, but he's just got like a higher capacity for that type of be able to intake sensations and not feel overwhelmed by them. So I think there's a little bit of like him or just who he is. And then I think it's also, coming up in Manchester City, like in the academy, that's a high pressure environment, even at a younger age. If you're not excelling at all the youth age groups, you really don't have a chance to move up, So like I think that's why you see, I'm sure that he developed that being around the academy structure and then especially the first team once he got into the first team picture. So, that's Pep, that's all the other players, that's the whole coaching staff. And just being involved with an organization like that, like, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to hear that they were actually like doing sessions focusing specifically on that, like mental aspects, like not even necessarily on the field. I don't know if they do that or not. Obviously, I'm not in their structure, but so I would like that's the level of professionalism we're talking about with these organizations. You're not getting a lot of people that aren't trying to adhere to that these days. That's part of the course. So that's kind of my take. Is it'd be a mix of Cole Palmer as an individual, and then because you excel at those levels, like in part because of your ability to do that. So it's not just that you're learning it there; it's that you also have to have a bit of natural fortitude. So that's my take on that side of it, at least. And he just doesn't seem bothered at all by like any equation. Like he seems like he's like resting heart rate of like being on a jog or something, but he's moving at a very fast. You know what I mean? Like that's what it seems like, his level of calm and like centered. Yeah, because you see like things pop off on the field with like shoving and stuff, and he's just like sitting on the ground, like staying out of it. It's like it's gonna be over, dude. Like,
We're
gonna get back to like finish the game here. Like but he's not even upset. He's just sitting, waiting. Like So it's impressive, especially for someone so young, because I think most of us never even achieve anything like that level of ability
like
at our age, at any age.
Dude, if I had to take a penalty in the Premier League and like at the Etihad at 20, like my hamstrings are like giving out, or like my knees are buckling, dude, before I even take that shot, dude. It'd be like the worst shot in history.
Just like tear a hammy, and you're just like
it would be pathetic, dude.
But you still kick it, so it's like you took the penalty and missed.
It'll be like Charlie Brown, like slipping, dude, and the ball just like softly rolling to the keeper's gloves, dude. Like, that level of pressure I can't even fathom what that level of pressure is like. And like Ian said, to be so unfazed and like, I also think one reason the team looks better this season too is because I think Maresca is more intentional, it seems, with his tactics than Pochettino. I think what I heard just from last season was that a lot of the players were looking for more specific instruction, and I don't think he was providing that. Whereas I think, like, just watching our guys play, they seem a lot more confident in linking up and knowing where they need to be and where to expect their teammates and stuff. So I don't know if you've noticed that at all, Ian, but they seem to be more tactically sound this season.
Yeah, Kev, I remember talking to you last season in between games and being like, there doesn't seem like there's a lot of instruction going on for like what guys are supposed to be doing past their own defensive third. And it's like, dude, well, then you're just going to get stuck there, man. Like, that's not good, which is what kept happening, you know?
Yeah.
And even top level guys like, you know, Enzo's used to playing with the Argentina team, so he knows exactly how to play there. But you come to Chelsea, which the squad is, when they came in, it was a mess, you know, because it was like jamming a whole new group of players together all at once without like almost any of the previous players. And it's like, yeah, that's not really how you do a team transition, but I guess they've fast forwarded it to a point where they've got a guy that can work better with them. I think it's twofold, where it's like a guy that is definitely going to work well with what the club wants to, because I think if there's that friction, it's going to affect everything else, you know? Yeah,
like a Tuchel or a Conte, like guys who are like,
I mean, even the way it ended up with Poch.
Yeah, him to a lesser extent. And I actually think they made the right call, I guess, doing the mutual parting. But you know, like Chelsea last season kind of reminded me of United, how they currently are, which is crazy to say, because when you watch Ten Hag going from game to game, like there's a new midfield every game, there's a new back line every game, and it's like, this is your third season, brother. Like, how are you still not certain and you're trying to work stuff out and everything's like, stick to the plan, but what's the plan?
Here's why. Because they signed a bunch of players for a bunch of money, and then he has to play them because he advocated for him.
Yeah.
Even though that's not like the right thing to do, but it's like, and then it's not just that, it's like even if it's more of like a club sign, it's like, yeah, well, we just purchased new players this summer. It's like, you got to get them in. Yeah. But then it's like, he still needs to try to make his guys work too, if it's going to be good for him. I don't know. I mean, it's not just obviously, but like,
and I know we get clowned a lot for the net spend we did. Like, I think it's like 1.2 or 1.3 billion over the past 5 or 6 windows. I think it's 5.
So what's that in years? What's that in years and not in windows to make it sound longer?
It's 10 years, dude. A lot of those guys are getting like the like they're paying, what's the rate? Like 10 million. Like Enzo and Caicedo are both paying off 10 million a year, which is pretty sick. Like, that's not even if they're busts.
But if they decide to stay and you don't want them, that's the problem, you know?
That's the problem, dude. But I will say this.
Rolling the dice.
We've spent 1.3 or like 1.2, 1.3 billion, but we've also sold about 500,000 worth of players over that same time window too.
You say 500 million?
Sorry, yeah, 500 million. Sorry, not 500,000.
500 million's not enough.
Yeah, I think we've sold about maybe $400 or $500 million worth of players over that same time window.
So that sounds like $1 billion.
What do you mean? No, it's not. It's still less. 1.3, like 1.2 and 5. That's,
I thought you said 1.4.
No. I think it's like 1.2, 1.3.
Yeah, maybe you should have Googled that.
But also, I think because you look, I think United have spent 700 million over the same time frame. But I think the difference with Chelsea is a lot of our prospects, like, yeah, we've spent 1.2 up front, but a lot of these guys are probably going to appreciate in value because they're pretty good, and we can probably make money. Not on all the guys. Like, if we sold like Enzo and Mudryk, we'd probably lose money. But on a lot of the guys like Mudryk, Cole Palmer, like a lot of these guys, we could probably get more than what we paid for them. Whereas United, who's going to pay 100 million for Anthony? Who's paying 90 million for Højlund? 60 or 70 million, whatever it is, for Casemiro. Like, I think we need a few more years before we judge Chelsea's transfer windows. Because, yeah, a lot of those guys aren't going to pan out, but I don't think it's just like throwing money at the wall and seeing what stick. Maybe like the first 2 windows were, but I think we have a really smart analytics department in place. And the guy who's heading it now, I think, is actually from the Timberwolves, who came over, who was there, and who's kind of like, Desh, I don't know how much you watch basketball, but this guy 2 or 3 seasons ago, when like he first came over, the Timberwolves were like a bubble team. Like they were like anywhere from 10th to 8th place, maybe gonna make the playoffs, maybe not. And in 3 seasons, they've reached the Western Conference Finals. That's pretty impressive if you consider how stacked the West is. And he had a huge role to play in that. So I'm curious how that'll transition for footy. But I think they're getting the right guys in place and the right pieces. And I think maybe we're definitely not title contenders this year. But I think the way everything's getting set up with a lot of our other rivals in Champions League, Europa League getting stretched by like more elite European competitions, I think we're definitely primed for top 4.
But that's like a very, very interesting point that you just mentioned, because like you look at any of the top teams in football all over Europe, not just in Premier League, you see, and if you go and search the data analytics department, you'll see like they are investing heavily in it. So this also happened with Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool. Same thing with City, for example, Barcelona. All of them have like a very, very good data team, and you can actually see that probably if you see the game. Like if you're going to analyze the videos of the Chelsea game this season versus last season, you'll probably definitely see where players are. I think it's different. And you guys have a really good data department, right?
Yeah. Well, go on, Des. Continue.
Yeah, and I think like that's a very, very good point to do that. I do not agree deeply with now, but you're right that I think it will be a couple of seasons. I think it's you have so many investments, and you have so many players that eventually like, you make money on something in something that's probably going to happen. But I think it's also going to be the back end of the deal. So currently for a whole partner with and usually or something that goes down. So there are like a lot of factors with it, and Cole probably isn't the best example for it because he seems to be doing really, really well. But there's like Mudryk or some of the players, I do worry a little bit about how they're managed. But I'd like to pivot a little bit because I think we talked about Maresca, right? And how do you think he is really supporting Cole Palmer to benefit? He's benefiting quite a lot. I mean, he will Mauricio, but he seems to be in more space. So, and you touched a bit on it earlier about like how yes, can I want to know what you think about that. And,
Right.
I would also like to know what do you think this Enzo Maresca effect is going to have, like unexpected outcome out of it. You know,
Well,
do you see any?
yeah, I think it helps that Maresca worked with Cole Palmer at the youth level, right? I believe he was working with him when he was a kid. So I think he has a pretty, more than probably any of the other coaching staff or anyone that's worked with him at Chelsea so far, probably understands like his qualities and knows him pretty intimately. So he probably has the best understanding. And I will say this about Maresca, and Ian, I'm curious on your take as well, but I think he's been a little bit more tactically flexible than I thought he was going to be like an Ange who's just like, this is my style of play, and no matter what, this is how we're playing. But I think he's shown a great deal of flexibility in his opening term so far, in terms of like where he's playing guys, the shape the team's taking. So I still think our guys need more time to gel, but so far, man, it looks the results look really good so far, because I think that the profile of players are getting, like all of our attackers are guys that are really good in link up. Like Nkunku, Madueke, Cole Palmer, Felix, Neto, Mudryk, like all of these guys are like linking up super well. So I think it helps that at least it's kind of funny that we used to be known as like defensively solid and we'd like eke out a goal or two, maybe. And now it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if we're scoring like 3 or 4 goals a game, but also conceding that many because on the back end, we haven't found that stability yet. Because Sanchez, while he's an incredible shot stopper, is giving up these absurd chances by trying to get cute. And you're like, dude, just punt the ball, bro. What the f- are you doing? Like, you're not Dino with the ball at your feet, bro. Stop trying to like dribble past guys, dude. You're a big tree. Just kick it out of there, dude. I yell at the TV every time. I'm like, no, Sanchez, what are you doing, dude? But then he'll make like unbelievably shot stopping saves. So I don't know. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, man. On those points, that's really funny about Robert Sanchez. But it's like, yeah, dude, you gotta have. I mean, Matt Turner does the same stuff. Like a lot of goalies get caught up trying to stick. See, that's where it's like that's Robert Sanchez getting too stuck to the formation, like Ange, where he's like, I gotta play. He said we want to play out with our feet, and I'm gonna. It's like, well, no, you also have to know when you do it, and you can get rid of it like first time. Just hoof it because you can see that he can do that. He can kick it pretty far, but he's like. It's his decision making and like being too rigid, sticking to that, and not having the ability during the game to like recognize when he should or shouldn't, which is a big problem. But yeah, back to the other stuff. I think when you say like, yeah, with Maresca, like being tactically sound, for sure, and like, but also flexible. And to me, that's just like, yeah, you do have to adjust a little bit what you're doing based on who you're putting on the field. You know what I mean? So like when he's making these changes and bringing new guys into the attack at the end of games, like, yeah, the overall structure is still going to be the same, but like, yeah, you make tweaks based on the guys, the specific players' abilities, like just to make it as optimal as possible for them and also your structure. So you're not abandoning like the principles, but you're moving things, you're tweaking things based just to fine tune them as you make changes. And like it's the same thing you should be doing if you ever have like a change in your back four, and like any position you have to slightly adjust. Just like slotting someone to a role, you're not going to get the same exact thing that you got from the other person, even if it's similar. It's not going to be exactly the same. So like you got to adjust.
Yeah.
So I think that he's showing like that he's able to do that, you know, which is
and I was going to say too, now that Lavia's back, I think that midfield is going to have, because he played, I think like the first half against Liverpool, and like he looked so cool under pressure when receiving the ball and like would make a clean pass. Were like, as much as I love Caicedo, he can get like overrun in the midfield, and then that sets up a chance, and then our back line is just like scrambling. So I think having someone like Lavia, pairing him with Caicedo would like not only like probably reduce, like just kind of like clean up the middle of the park, but it probably takes the pressure off our back line while that gets sorted. Because I feel like Fofana's still coming back to form. Like he was top center back, I think, when he was with Leicester, or at least up there. You can say he's one of the best, but so who knows if those injuries took it out of him or not? But I hope he gets back to his best.
Yeah, I want to finish on one point on this before we kind of break off at the end and let give Kevin a chance to get some stuff off his chest here that he's been holding on to. He's been holding on to it deep. It's been eating away at him. But yeah, just on Desh's earlier point of like, yeah, how is Maresca like maybe getting more support for Cole? And it's like, yeah, it's the way he's positioning guys, but it's also other guys are stepping up. Like you all said, Mudryk is playing better. He doesn't have huge numbers, but he plays super direct. He presses well, so he like keeps you higher up the field. He creates chances. He does have like goals and assists this season.
Mm.
Yeah, Nicholas Jackson's looking good. He's got 5 goals, 3 assists in the league. That's good. That's pretty good numbers so far. Having played 8 games, he's got 5 goals. That's good. Nobody can keep up with Haaland, so
he's crazy.
Those guys, and Sancho's come in with 3 assists. I mean, I know he didn't. There's a lot of memes out there after the last game, but point is that other attacking players are stepping up, and then that means that you can't then double Cole Palmer because the other guys will score. So you have to play everybody straight up, and that's when it's dangerous.
And like the guys on ESPN, like I know Stevie Nickel was like, "How are you going to sit back? You're at home. We're used to playing the front foot. This is Liverpool." But it's like, I think they did that because they respected the Chelsea's attacking threat that in previous seasons they didn't really have to. Like, you look at previous iterations when they were under Klopp, then we didn't have guys that could take it to them like that consistently. Maybe we had we had Pulisic, but he was streaky. His injury record wasn't, what I mean? Like he was kind of. So I don't know. Were you going to say something, Ian?
No. I just want to make sure you have time to get to spout off because we're coming up on 4 minutes. So let's give a little.
Okay. All right. We can switch away from Chelsea.
But no, wrapping up on Chelsea, going over to Kev.
All right.
Well, before you do that,
yes,
want to ask one thing before you do that, and that's basically so amazing. Like for example, Cole is doing really well. We know Jackson, Mudryk, and everyone around them are benefiting well. So before we go on to what you need to get out of your chest, can we do a quick prediction of how you think Cole is going to do for the rest of the season? Yeah.
I think he's going to have 20 plus goals. Are you just talking about the league or all competitions?
Let's focus on the league because
I think he'll get 20. I think he'll get 20 league goals. I think this season I'm going to make a bold prediction and say we'll have 4 or 5 guys with 10 plus goals, and we'll have at least 2 guys with 20 plus. That's my prediction for the season. I think once we clean up things in the back, which I think with Lavia coming back and Reece James, if he can stay healthy, who knows? But we'll see. But I think we're going to finish top 4 because we have depth where like Newcastle doesn't, Aston Villa doesn't. So I think we're going to finish high, and I think our guys are going to go on a scoring run.
Well, there you have it. There's Kevin's take on all things Chelsea, and now you
should listen because I'm qualified.